Tonight we're in part 2 of this series that called Follow. And I don't know if our screens work. There it is. Yeah. And we kicked off this series last week. And really the whole idea behind this series is that we want to redefine what it means to follow. And we want to discover, or at least explore, what is actually worth following wholeheartedly in our lives. And last week we started by saying that all of us are following someone or something. And so I proposed the question to every single person in the room, who or what are you currently following? And then I followed that up by saying, is it worth it? Who or what are you currently following? And is it actually worth it? And our hope is that at some point throughout this series, that you'll at least consider what it could look like for you to follow Jesus in your life, because we believe that he's worth following. But here's what I know about following Jesus is that following Jesus is not always easy. In fact, following Jesus is gonna be really, really difficult at times. There's gonna be moments and maybe even seasons when you're following Jesus where you're tempted to wanna turn away, you're tempted to wanna quit and to wanna give up. And we said last week that if you follow Jesus based on how you feel, then you won't make it very far. But if you can start to follow Jesus not based on how you feel, but if you can start to follow Jesus based on what you know, then you're gonna have the motivation and the desire to persevere through difficult circumstances and difficult seasons in your life. And where we landed last week in Follow Part 1 is that following Jesus is about what I know, not what I feel. And tonight we need to keep this conversation going and follow part 2, and I'm really excited about it. But to get us started tonight, I need to ask for all of your honesty, if you're willing, just to lean in with me here in this moment. I'm about to ask you a question, and I would appreciate honesty. And I would love for you to raise your hand if you're willing after I ask you this question. The question is this: if you're willing and comfortable, would you just raise your hand if you are currently in a dating relationship, if you're dating somebody? Okay, a few of you, I expected that, maybe about half the room-ish. That's great. Okay, you can put your hands down. I'm gonna flip the question now. Again, if you're comfortable, raise your hand if you're currently single. You're not dating anybody. Okay, yeah, keep your hands raised. All you single people, look around, scan the room. You know what I'm saying? Scan the room real quick, take note, be like, oh, okay, whoa, what's up? Y'all can connect later. Put your hands down. Here's the reason I ask, because I can remember back to about 10 years ago in 2010 when Ann, who is now my wife, when Ann and I just met. And before Ann became my wife, we were engaged. And before we were engaged, we were dating. And before we were dating, we just met. And we were starting to form a friendship, right? And so I remember back in 2010, we had just been introduced kind of by some mutual friends, and we kind of had a good friendship going, and we were talking a lot. And then, after a few months, we kind of started talking a little bit more. And I remember being about 7 or 8 months into our friendship thinking, okay, when are we gonna graduate from the friend zone? When are we gonna move into the next stage of this relationship, which is called dating? And back in 2010, this is gonna seem foreign to y'all, but back in 2010, the thing to do was to update your Facebook status, or your Facebook profile. And so I was like, when am I gonna be able to update my FB from single to in a relationship? People keep asking me this, and I'm like, I don't know, I think soon, I think we're heading in that direction, but I'm really not sure. So it was kind of starting to bother me, frustrating me a little bit. And so I just realized that I knew I had to have a conversation. So I'll never forget it. It was on July 4th, 2010. I was doing an internship and I was in Florida at the time. Ann was somewhere else in a different state. And I was nervous and I picked up the phone to call her to have what I refer to as a DTR. And some of you are like, what in the world is a DTR, bro? A DTR is a defining the relationship conversation. Some of you know this, right? And so I was gonna call her and just try to have this conversation where we would define the relationship, because I knew before we could figure out what our next steps were and where we were headed, we first had to define and figure out where we were, right? So I pick up the phone and I call her and she answers and I'm like, man, I don't know how this is gonna go. I don't know if she's gonna be in the mood to talk about this. I don't know if she's busy. I don't know if she has time for this. It's gonna be a pretty long conversation, I think, maybe. And so she answers, I'm like, hey, what's up, girl, And she's like, hey, boo, I'm kidding. But I'm like, hey, listen, Ann, we need to talk. Do you have a minute? She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I really like you. Honestly, it's been so fun getting to know you. And then I realized wow, this sounds like I'm about to break up with her. And so I'm like, look, let me just kind of restart. I wanna keep this relationship going with you. I wanna see where this goes. And I wanna pursue a dating relationship with you. But I need to know if you're on the same page, because if you're not, that's cool. But if you just see this relationship like being a really good, strong friendship, then I need to know that, because I don't talk to my friends every single day, and I definitely don't talk to my friends who are girls that I really like every single day. So if that's where you're at, we might just need to step back like a few steps. Like, what do you think? And I just kind of left it at that. And it was like silent for like 3 seconds. And I'm like, and did you, and she's like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm like, oh my goodness, And so it was awesome. She's like, I want that too. Like, I want to keep, pursuing this thing and seeing where it goes. And, maybe we can move towards a dating relationship. I'm like, great, this is awesome. And that was not the last DTR that we had from that point forward. Even to this day, we still have some conversations like this. And here's the reason why a conversation like that, why a DTR is so important for a relationship. Because defining the relationship will help you determine the next step. Defining the relationship, figuring out where you are, will help you to determine your next step. It'll help you to determine where you're going. And this is so important in every relationship in your life. Like, it's so important in your relationship with your family members, relationships with friends, relationships with your boyfriend or girlfriend. It's important in your relationships with your coworkers, with your roommates. It's even important in your relationship with Jesus. But here's one of, I think, some of the main reasons why we're hesitant to have these types of conversations, why we're a little bit resistant to address these issues and to talk about things like this. It's because having to define the relationship conversation is gonna require you to be honest. It's gonna require you to open up about some things. It's gonna require you to be vulnerable. You're going to have to risk something. You might have to risk rejection. You might have to risk being misunderstood. It's going to require you to take ownership. Like, you may actually have to apologize for some things that you've said or haven't said. You might have to ask for forgiveness for some things that you did or maybe didn't do. You're gonna have to take ownership for some things. And it's even gonna require you to embrace being a little bit uncomfortable. Like, you might have to be like, I don't know about this. Like, can I just be honest? These types of conversations normally don't come naturally. Like, you're probably gonna feel a little uncomfortable. You're probably gonna be able to find a whole list of excuses as to why you would rather not have this conversation. And here's what I know to be true for many of you in the room tonight, because if I was sitting in your seat, I would probably be thinking maybe the same thing. Matt, I hear you. Like, I understand that this is important to define the relationship will help me determine my next step. I get it. It'll bring clarity to the relationship. And maybe you're even thinking of a few relationships in your life right now where you need to have this type of conversation. Like, you're like, man, yeah, I do need to have that. But here's what I think many of you may be thinking right now. Matt, I don't know. I don't know if I should do this right now. Cause I'm busy. I'm in this, unique season of my life. I'm not sure. Here's what some of you are saying. Some of you are saying, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I'm not saying it's not important, but I'll do it later. Right now I'm good, I'm chilling, I'm just enjoying college, I'm enjoying this season of my life. I'll do it later, but here's my concern, is that more often than not, later becomes never. And you say, I'm gonna make the phone call later, I'm gonna apologize later, I'm gonna be honest with him or her later, I'm gonna tell them how I feel later, I'm gonna stop treating people like this, later, I'm gonna stop watching this. Later, I'm gonna take this area of my life seriously. Later, I'm gonna start to take steps to grow and move forward in my faith later, but then later becomes never, and it never happens. And so knowing that could be a temptation for some of us in the room tonight to just kind of hear this talk, but then push it off and be like, I'll worry about that later, I'll address that later. I wanna just eliminate that tonight and say, no, let's have this conversation right now. Tonight, I want us to have a DTR. I want us to define the relationship tonight, specifically when it comes to your relationship with Jesus. Now, disclaimer, I realize that there are some of you in the room tonight who would say right now you are not a follower of Jesus. Maybe you're skeptical, maybe you have doubts, maybe you're just like, no, I'm just out. And so for you, you're thinking probably okay, this conversation definitely doesn't apply to me because I know where my relationship is at with Jesus. It's non-existent. That's the definition of my relationship with Jesus. It doesn't exist. And you're gonna be tempted to just wanna check out right now or be like, yo, all right, see y'all next week. I'll come back for Chick-fil-A, And here's what I wanna say to you. I just wanna strongly encourage you tonight to lean in because I think this conversation can help you so much. In fact, I think it might bring some clarity as to why you feel the way that you feel. And not only that, some of the things that I'm about to say, I think you're gonna agree with the most. Like, I think the Christ followers in the room are gonna kind of be like, oh, I didn't like that he said that. But I think you're gonna be like, come on, amen, preach. Like, that's so good. And so I need your feedback. I need you to lean in. But all of us together, no matter where you're at on the faith spectrum tonight, I need all of us together in this moment. If this conversation is gonna be helpful, if it's going to land, I need all of us to commit to saying, yeah, like we're in, Matt. Let's go there. Let's be real. Let's be honest. Are y'all with me? Are you with me tonight? I'm gonna need a little more than that. Are you with me? Okay, you're with me. So growing up, I love sports, still do to this day. Like, always have loved sports. And I love playing sports. I love watching sports. My family loves sports. And I go to a lot of basketball games. Basketball is definitely my favorite sport. And this past couple weeks, I've gone to probably, no joke, like 4 or 5 basketball games. And a couple weeks ago, I was at a high school game. And it was just this random game. I didn't know any of the players. It was a pretty hype game. It was on a Friday night. It was the number 1 team in the state of Georgia, Grayson High School, come on, Grayson, versus the number 2 team in the state of Georgia, Shiloh High School. No Shiloh people. And Grayson versus Shiloh at Shiloh High School. This game was hype. Both teams were 22-1, I think. Like, it was amazing. We had to get there like an hour and 15 minutes early just to get a seat in the gym. We ended up sitting in like the corner of the gym, but in the front row. And so I'm like, this is great. It's me, my wife, and my daughter Willow. And we're sitting there, and like I take a seat, and I'm like, man, the bleachers were just like this, kind of wooden, and I'm like, I don't remember the bleachers being this uncomfortable in high school gymnasiums. I'm like, this is terrible, like, and so literally, like, I was like, my back was hurting. I had to keep like getting up and stretching out. And I started to have flashbacks because I remember like growing up, going to basketball games with my dad and my grandpa, and like they would always carry in these like seat cushions that were obnoxiously big. And I would be like, yo, why are you bringing those in? Like, I'm embarrassed to be seen with you. Please don't, like, can you not get through an hour and a half long game? What are you doing? But let me just be real with you. I committed to myself and to my family on this night, I'm never again showing up to a high school game without a seat cushion. And I went out and I bought me a seat cushion today because I knew I was gonna be sitting on this thing tonight, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. So here's the thing, like, and it's the wrong way. I don't even know what I'm doing. This is so much better, y'all. Like, this is so comfortable. It's great. I wish I would have had this 2 weeks ago. But back to the story. This has nothing to do with the story. But back to the story. While I was at the game, I just started to take some mental notes of the experience that I was having. And I thought to myself, I'm cheering a lot. Like, I don't even really care who wins, but I just was like, I'm gonna cheer for the underdog, which happened to be Shiloh, the home team. And so like every time they would like make a bucket or hit a 3, I'd be like, yo, 3, like doing all those crazy things or whatever. And so I was cheering a lot, but then I also caught myself yelling, or as I like to say, like passionately inserting myself into the game, Like, I'd be like mainly yelling at the refs, like, ref, I respectfully disagree with your call. That's a travel, sir, I found myself like celebrating with some players. Like, they would hit a shot, I'd celebrate. But then I found myself like criticizing guys at the same time, players that I don't even know. Like, one second I'd be celebrating, the next second I'd be like, get him out of the game. What is he doing? Why did he take that shot? I found myself enjoying the game. Like, I just wanted to relax. It would have been way more enjoyable if I had one of these. This thing's about to fall off, but I found myself relaxing. I was going to concession stand, just trying to enjoy myself, have a good time, just relax, get some snacks, some drinks, all that good stuff. And then the game ended, and I just went home with all the other fans. And I'm walking out of the gym, and I see the players walking out, and the players are like, they're sweating, they're exhausted. Some of them are like emotional. They're mad about the game, how the game ended. Grayson won. And I'm walking out. Yeah, come on. And I'm walking out, and I'm like, well, I don't feel any type of way. I'm good. Like, I'm not sweating. I'm great. I feel awesome. And that's a pretty typical fan experience, right? Like, you go to a game, and you could probably add a couple things to that list depending on what the game is or like where your seats are at. But that's a pretty normal experience for a fan at a game or at a concert or whatever it might be. And it's this list right here. Like, this is what fans experience. Fans cheer, fans yell, fans celebrate, fans criticize, fans relax and they enjoy themselves, and then fans leave. And here's what I realized later that week and over the past couple weeks as I've been preparing for tonight and thinking about this series that we're in, Follow, where we're talking about what it means to follow Jesus. I realized that for me, maybe I'm not speaking for you, but for me, oftentimes, if I were to make a list of what it looks like for me to follow Jesus, this list right here wouldn't look that different. What I realized is that a lot of times I say to myself, I convince myself that I'm following Jesus, but in reality, I'm just a fan. And there's a really big difference between being a fan of Jesus and being a follower of Jesus. How many of you know what a fan actually means? Like what the definition of a fan is? Here's the definition of a fan. A fan is an enthusiastic admirer. That's what it means to be a fan. Fans will show up, fans will cheer, fans will celebrate, but you know what fans will never do? Fans will never get in the game because they're just fans. They're content with sitting in the bleachers, just being like, yeah, we're here, but fans won't get in the game. And notice that Jesus never extended the invitation for you to come be a fan. He never said this one time, hey, come be a fan of me. Jesus never said that. But you know the invitation Jesus did extend time and time again? You know the invitation Jesus extends to you and to me? This right here, come follow me. Come follow me. See, fans are happy to follow as long as it doesn't require them to make any significant changes in their life. They're happy to follow as long as they don't have to really change their life, as long as it doesn't cause them to have any negative implications on their life. Like fans will show up when it's convenient, but then they'll step out when it's not. Like that's what fans do. And Jesus had really strong language for these type of people. For the type of people that would try to follow Jesus in this way, Jesus was really passionate about this. In fact, look at what Jesus says when it comes to people who are kind of half in and half out, people who show up when it's convenient, but then step out when it's not. Check this out. These are the words of Jesus in Revelation, the very last book of the Bible, Revelation chapter 3, verse 15 and 16. Words of Jesus. I know your deeds, that you are neither hot nor cold. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. Whoa, like Jesus, seriously, you're gonna spit us out of your mouth? Like, what are you saying? Jesus is saying, hey, have you ever taken a drink of a lukewarm coffee? It doesn't taste very good. Like you wanna spit it out, you're like, oh, no, like heat it up or make it cold. Like it's iced coffee or it's hot coffee. It's not lukewarm. Like no one goes to Starbucks like, can I just get a cup of lukewarm coffee? You don't do that. And Jesus is saying, hey, stop being half in, half out. Like, I don't want lukewarm followers. I'd rather have you just be cold and be out or be hot and all in. But see, fans say, no. I don't want to have to make any significant changes. Fans want to be close enough to Jesus to get all the benefits, but just far enough away to where it doesn't require too much from us. And can I just tell you this? Following Jesus is going to interrupt your life. Following Jesus is absolutely going to cost you something. You can't just say, no, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna get kind of close, like maybe my feet on the floor, but like, I'm just gonna stay just far away from away. No, that's what fans do. But following Jesus is going to interrupt your life. It is going to cost you something. So the question I wanna ask you, especially if you're a Jesus follower in the room tonight, is this question right here. Has following Jesus cost you anything? And if you're kind of struggling to answer that question, if you're kind of trying to like be like, yeah, it's cost me some things. I mean, like, let me think about it. I mean, like, like one time, if that's kind of your thought process right now, as it would maybe be mine, then my guess is at times you're kind of drifting more towards being a fan. And here's the reality. Many of us want a gospel that costs us next to nothing but offers us everything. Many of us want to put our faith in a gospel, in good news that costs us next to nothing, but it offers us everything that we want. We're like, hey, I just want to sit courtside really close to the action, and I don't want to have to commit much. Like, you know, every now and then, like I'll step up and be like, oh, the ball almost went out of bounds. Okay, it can cost me that, but I don't want to actually get in the game. Because in the game is when like, I'll get sweaty and I'll get tired and I might win or lose and things, it's gonna be tough. Like, I don't want that. But look at what Luke says in his gospel. Again, the words of Jesus. Check this out. why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say? As for everyone who comes to me and hears my words and puts them into practice, I will show you what they are like. Keep going. They are like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid the foundation on rock. When a flood came, the torrent struck that house, but could not shake it because it was well built. Keep going. But the one who hears my words and does not put them into practice is like a man who built the house on the ground without a foundation. The moment the torrent struck that house, it collapsed and its destruction was complete. So Jesus is saying, hey, those that hear my words, that gain knowledge about who I am, those that have information and actually do something with it, like they do what I say, when storms come, and storms are going to come, they're gonna be okay. Like they're gonna keep going. But those who gain all the information about me, have all the knowledge about me, but they never do anything with it, they just think that's enough. When a storm comes into their life, they're going to be knocked down. Like their faith is not going to continue on. It's like this. Let me illustrate this to you. I got these weights right here, and I told y'all last week, if you were here, that I'm trying to work out a little bit more, trying to get in the gym. This past week, I haven't been in the gym one time, but I'm gonna get back in it, just being honest. But these are 25s, and man, I look good. So what if, just go with me, what if I said, hey, listen, 2020, I'm trying to make gains, trying to get stronger, trying to move forward, trying to get in better cardiovascular shape, all that good stuff. It's a big word. What if I told you like, hey, look, I've been studying every workout program there is. I've become an expert on all the protein shakes. I know the pre-workout drinks. I know the post-workout drinks. I know the in-between workout drinks. I know everything. Like I can tell you all these workout programs. I can tell you about who the best fitness experts are in the country and even in the world. I can tell you all that. But here's the thing, I'm never actually going to get in the gym and work out. Am I going to see any results in my life? The answer is actually yes. It's gonna be negative results though. Like I'm gonna see some results. I'm not just gonna stay the same, but I'm gonna see the results that I don't wanna see. But if I wanna grow and I wanna get stronger and I wanna get in better cardio shape and all of that, then guess what? It's not enough just to have the information. You have to actually apply the information. Let me just give you a principle here in just a second. But before I get there, can I just say this to you? When it comes to following Jesus, so many of us wanna grow and we wanna get healthy without making any personal sacrifices. Again, like we wanna follow Jesus, but we don't wanna have to make any personal changes in our life. Like we just wanna think that showing up on Monday nights and like getting the knowledge and celebrating and kind of just doing what fans do, that's enough. Then I can leave here on Monday night, can go on, live my life, Tuesday through Sunday, come back next Monday, and that's good. I'm gonna start to see changes in my life. I love that you're coming, I love that you're engaging, but it's not enough because knowledge alone is not going to bring about change and transformation in your life. But let me just tell you this, information plus application will equal transformation. If you can start to gain knowledge, it is important that you listen to messages. It is important that you show up consistently because knowledge is important, but it's not enough. Information plus application, starting to do what it says, that's going to lead to transformation in your life. That's gonna bring about changes in your life. You're gonna grow, you're going to get stronger. So tonight, as we begin to round the corner here, I'm just gonna be real. I'm going to challenge many of you tonight who have been sitting in the bleachers for far too long, living the life of a fan when it comes to following Jesus. I'm gonna challenge many of you tonight to step up off the bleachers and to step out and get in the game. And tonight we have an extraordinary opportunity. It's the first time to my knowledge that we've ever had this at the living room, this type of opportunity. Tonight, we have every one of our ministries from Buckhead Church represented here. We have staff people from every single ministry. And you may not even know this about Buckhead Church, but Buckhead Church on Sundays has environments that are so intentional and so amazing for newborns all the way up through adults. Let me tell you about come on. Let me tell you about the first one right here. This is Wambaland. Let's go Wambaland. Wambaland, my daughter's in Wambaland. Wambaland is for newborns up through the age of preschool. Do you know what they teach kids in Wambaland? Do you know what my daughter, Willow, is learning right now? 3 things. God made me, God loves me, and Jesus wants to be my best friend forever. How amazing is that? They want every single kid by the end of their Wombaland experience, when they move on from preschool, to know those three things: God made me, God loves me, and Jesus wants to be my best friend forever. I volunteered in Wombaland last Christmas, and I was in the room, and it was awesome. I was so impressed by all the volunteers, and there's this one volunteer who's in the room, in this room almost every single week. His name's Mr. Kevin. And at the end of the class, when service let out, like the parents come, y'all, there's literally hundreds of kids in Wombaland every single week. There's like 600 kids, it's crazy. So at 9 and 11 on Sunday mornings, and at the end of the hour, the parent came to pick up her son, and she comes up and she's like, Mr. Kevin, I'm a single mom. I don't even know if you knew that, but you have no idea the impact you've made on my son's life. I know he's only 4 years old, but my son has hardly any positive male role models in his life. And he talks about you, Mr. Kevin, all the time. He gets so excited. Sunday morning is his favorite time of the week because he can't wait to get to the church. He can't wait to go to his Wombaland classroom. He can't wait to play with his friends and to see his leaders and to come talk to you, Mr. Kevin. Thank you for what you did, what you do. And can I just say this? For a lot of you in the room tonight, you're Mr. Kevin. Like, this is your story. It's going to be your story. Some of you tonight, you've been sitting on the bleachers for far too long, and it's time for you to step up and to step out and to start going to serve with some newborn up through preschool age in Wombaland. And some of you tonight are gonna take that step and you're gonna go do it. Let me tell you about the next environment, Upstreet. Yeah, come on. Upstreet's for elementary age kids, kindergarten through 5th grade. They do everything they can to make Sunday mornings the best hour of the week for elementary age kids. I'm telling you, it's amazing. They do worship, they do storytelling, there's lights, it's awesome. It literally, sometimes I'm like, I wish I could go back to 4th grade because I would love to be in Upstreet. Let me tell you another story. There's this guy named Mr. Hugh. I just heard this story a few days ago. There's this kid, I think he's a 1st or 2nd grade boy. He started coming to the church. His parents dropped him off. The first couple weeks, he didn't want to be here. He was crying. He didn't feel comfortable. He was nervous. Mr. Hugh recognized this. And after the 2nd week, Mr. Hugh said, hey, I'm gonna write him a note of encouragement. He gave it to the Upstreet staff. The Upstreet staff sent this note to this little boy's family. The family read this note to their child. That following Sunday, they wake up thinking the kid's gonna be a wreck again. He's gonna be crying. He's not gonna go. You know what happened that following Sunday? The kid woke up and he said, I can't wait to go to church. We gotta go find Mr. Hugh. He gets to church. He runs up to Mr. Hugh. That family now says that this, for their son, Sunday mornings at Upstreet, it's his favorite hour of the week. Such a pivotal time in the life of a kid going through elementary school. And man, for some of you, tonight's the night where you're gonna step up from the bleachers and you're gonna step out and you're gonna go get in the game and you're gonna start serving with elementary age kids in Upstreet here at Buckhead Church. The next environment is called Transit. Transit is for middle schoolers. Come on, like, how many of you know that middle school is awkward? It just is, like, facts, exactly. It straight up is facts. Like, when's the last time you spent some time with a middle schooler? Everything about them is awkward. Like, they look awkward. They talk awkward. They act awkward. Let's be honest, they're a little bit like weird. They just are. It's like, I was with middle schoolers a couple weeks ago because we had a middle school conference here at the church, and there was over 700 middle schoolers here. And I'm with these middle schoolers and they're playing this game where they're gathered around like the hand sanitizer thing and they're all putting their hands under it and moving them. And I'm like, guys, that's not what you need to do. And he goes, we're just trying to protect ourselves from coronavirus. I'm like, what? No, like, what are you, just move. I don't even know what to say to you, but no, Hey, can we be real for a second? Most people run from middle schoolers. They do. And I don't mean that in a positive way. I'm trying to get this point across that because this is a tough season of life, because most people feel like they can't really connect, they just say, I'm not gonna be with them. But can I just tell you this? If you look at the statistics when it comes to middle schoolers right now, it's so sad. Suicide rates, depression, anxiety, all of that, worry, stress, it is soaring through the roof. Transit does an amazing job of creating an environment every single week for hundreds of middle schoolers to come and to have a safe place to talk about anything in their life and to go on a journey of discovering a faith of their own. And for some of you, tonight's the night where you're gonna step up and you're gonna step out and you're gonna get in the game and you are gonna start serving middle schoolers in transit. The next environment is for our high schoolers. It's called Inside Out. I'm just gonna say this, for a lot of you, you were just there. Like you were in high school just a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago. Maybe you were just in high school like 9 months ago. You know what it's like. You have an opportunity that is so unique because you can speak into their lives in a way that other people can't. You have no clue the weight that your influence would carry. And for some of you, it's an opportunity for you to be the influence that maybe you had when you were in high school or to be the influence that you wish you had when you were in high school. But for some of you tonight's gonna be the night where you're gonna step up and step out and you are gonna get in the game and you are gonna start serving high schoolers on Sunday nights at Inside Out. And you're gonna change the path for some high schoolers. It's gonna be amazing. The last environment I wanna tell you about is guest services here at Buckhead Church. Come on. Oh, boom, let's go. Guest services here at Buckhead Church is incredible because you never know what someone is walking through the doors carrying. And guest services does everything they can do to make someone's experience awesome. I've heard stories about people that say, adults that say they come to church and their favorite part about church is it's the only time of the week where they feel like they're seen. It's the only time of the week where they feel like they're valued, and guest services are the ones leading the way in that. We say this all the time, but the sermon actually begins on the parking lot. Like the sermon begins long before the preacher gets on the stage. No, the sermon begins on the parking lot. It begins when a guest services volunteer in the rain takes an umbrella and says, hey, let me get you in. When the guest services volunteer says, hey, I'm so glad you're here with a smile. Some of you have the gift of hospitality. You have an amazing smile. You have just a way of making people feel known and welcome and valued. And for you, tonight is going to be the night where you are going to step up off the bleachers and you're gonna step out and you're gonna get in the game and you're gonna start serving on the guest services team here at Buckhead Church. And listen, I know some of you are like, man, Matt, I don't know. Like, that's great, but my life's crazy. And for me to take this step, I don't know if I have what it takes. It kind of seems crazy. Can I just tell you this? When you're in a relationship with someone, when you're following someone that you love, you do some crazy things. When I was dating Ann, there was a time, I'll never forget it. I drove 14 hours to Texas to spend 3 hours with her. No, don't cheer. That's dumb. That's dumb, that makes no sense. That's crazy. That's crazy. But here is what I'm trying to say to you. Following Jesus should cause you to have some crazy stories in your life. So for some of you, hey, I know it's gonna seem crazy. It's not gonna make total sense. I know that you're busy. I know you have a lot of things going on. Here's the amazing thing about all of these environments. They do the work for you. You just show up and everything is ready. You don't have to do prep work on the front end. You don't have to come with all these things. You don't have to know all the answers. You just show up and say, hey, how can I serve? And you just use your influence. Your presence is enough. But man, following Jesus will always lead you into action. Following Jesus will always lead you from the bleachers to step up and to step out and to get into the game, to pursue the action. Imagine what could happen in your life if you got in the game and started to use your God-given gifts and abilities to expand the kingdom. Imagine what could happen in your faith. Imagine what could happen in our church. We have a college ministry of 600 students. I've been praying all week that at least 100 of you would take a step and go to an interest meeting tonight. In just a minute, you're gonna be dismissed, and I'm gonna dismiss you one by one, ministry by ministry, and you're gonna go hear about each ministry. That's not signing you up for anything, that's just saying I'm interested in hearing more. I've been praying that 100 of you would go, and then just 2 days ago, I felt like God put it on my heart, hey Matt, pray for 200. There's probably close to 500 people in the room tonight. I don't know if it's too much, too bold of an ask to say, hey, would 200 of you go to interest meetings tonight, meet with our staff people, hear more about an opportunity, possibly consider what could it look like for you to get in the game and start using your influence here at Buckhead Church? How many of you know, like at a sporting game, sporting event, basketball game, whatever it might be, that like when the person's getting ready to check in the game, you know, they're kind of like on the sidelines like this, and then they're like, now checking in the game, number 23, LeBron James, you know, and like everybody like kind of starts clapping. Well, they're not clapping because he just did anything. They're clapping because they're saying, hey, let's go, get in the game, go make a difference, go make some things happen, you know, go get some buckets. Like they're clapping to try to inspire the people to go do what they need to do in the game. And so in just a second, I'm gonna tell you one by one where each ministry is gonna be meeting tonight. I'm gonna start with Wombaland and go up through guest services. And I'm just gonna challenge you. It's gonna be done by 10 p.m. You'll be out of here. I know you might have things to do, but I'm gonna challenge you as I call out these ministries for you, if you know that that's you, to just get up and go. And as you do, you know what all of us are gonna do? We're gonna cheer for you because we're gonna be saying, hey, let's go get in the game, go make a difference, come on. So we're gonna start with Wombaland. Wombaland is meeting on floor 1. If you just go to the Wombaland entrance, or just go down to floor 1, people will help guide you that way. So right now, if you know newborns through preschoolers, that's the age group you're called to. My wife works in Wombaland. She's down there right now. She would love to meet you. My daughter would love to meet you. That's not why you should serve, but that just extra incentive. If Wombaland is for you, then right now I want you to get up and head down to floor 1 if you're going to Wombaland. Come on, we're gonna cheer you on. Let's go. Go get in the game. Go get in the game. Go get in the game, let's go. Yeah, woo, that's a lot of people. Get ready, Wombaland. Come on. Yeah, go to floor 1, go get in the game, let's go. Let's go. Hey, next, we're gonna keep this rolling. Next, we're going to Upstreet. Upstreet is meeting on floor 2. Floor 2, you're just gonna go out these doors and make a left. That's elementary age, kindergarten through 5th grade. If that's you, let's go right now. Right now, go get in the game, come on. Yeah, that's amazing. Stick with me. Next, we got Transit. That's our middle school environment. Transit is meeting on the 4th floor in the attic. If that's you and you know, man, you need to get involved with middle schoolers, go get in the game. Go get in the game. Let's go. So many people, I love that. Inside Out is our high school ministry. They're meeting on floor 2 in the theater, like right outside these doors. If you need to start investing in the lives of high schoolers, then right now, go right across the hallway to the theater. Go get in the game, let's go. Come on. And last but not least, I love that the crowd is dwindling. This is awesome. Last but not least, guest services is meeting on floor 1 down in the gallery, right by where the buses load and unload. So if you know you need to start greeting some people on Sunday mornings, be a part of guest services teams, head down to floor 1, go get in the game. That's amazing. Hey, listen, for the rest of you, I'm not up here judging you, being like, what are you doing? Why are you still sitting in here? I realize that this step isn't for everybody. I realize some of you are already serving. I realize it may not be the time for you. I get all that. But can I just give you this challenge? Keep going on the journey and find a way to get in the game. If that's at another church, that's awesome. If you're already serving somewhere, that's great. But man, find a way to get in the game, because I'm telling you, if you're still sitting on the sidelines, you're missing out. So listen, I love you guys. You're awesome. I can't wait to see you back here next Monday. If you're heading to groups, you can still head that way. They're still gonna be happening. If you wanna join a pop-up group tonight and you're not currently in a group, but you'd love a group experience, pop-up groups are still happening right across the hall in the studio. But hey, you guys are great. You're dismissed. You can head on out. Buses will leave the first wave at 9:20. Love y'all. See you next week.